All right, so continue on. To continue on here, um, I had originally asked, how might we, in general, the question is, how might we weave or blend together, these ecological psychology, existential phenomenology, biologically oriented, holistic views, you know, uh, even something like Evan Thompson's an active approach to cognition in his mind and life paradigm, which is rigorously scientific, or in a more, I guess I would say, in a more advanced or a more cutting edge sense. Using dynamic systems theory and non-reductionist explanations. Um, so how would we blend those with something like Plato's theories of ideas? And I pointed out that what Professor Anton, uh, at least the two quotes that Matt that you read in the original video I'm replying to, uh, they're pointing to the same fundamental concerns, which just are basically our concerns. I mean, we all uh, have we have questions about, um, we have to make decisions every day, and we're concerned with these projects and these issues, these matters that we have to deal with every day, and they have to do with these seemingly at least semi-universal themes throughout, at least throughout communities, at least throughout cultural epochs, and certainly throughout Western culture. So it's definitely bigger than any one of us. Something like the good, even if it's not a universally defined, transcendent form that's ever never changes. I mean, you could certainly um, an argument that there are these forms that are they are basically noetic realities that they just don't have the same kind of intelligibility as beings have, but they are nevertheless beings participate in them. And although just as we, you know, all different all the different observers might, that are around this object might get different perspectival views of it, and and even everyone would have different interpretations of this book in some way, and maybe perfect consensus is never possible. And maybe in the 1950s this meant something than it does now, and it does mean something different to each person and to each, especially at each society, each epoch, each language it's translated into. So but it's still the one and the same book, right? So it's still the one and the same thoughts of the author, and it's the thoughts of the author, uh, and uh, and the readers and the community of readers that are all in this interaction, this dynamic web of relationships. And there's something about the ideas which express something some something important, and I think uh, in a sense universal throughout. It might have all different kinds of guises, like with the book, but we all might get different views of it. But that doesn't mean that we still couldn't hypothesize that it is unchanging on some level, and that we're all just getting different views of it. So, but since it is unchanging, that does at least hold out hope that we can, at least, that there is something there that's solid, there's something that's semi permanent, I guess you could say, and unchanging, that we could at least all get closer to. It's kind of a limit. We can never actually get to it, but at least there is something that we all are actually referring to when we say justice. Something there, even if we have totally different takes on it. Something there when we talk about friendship. We all seem to know what friendship is. Yep, you know, at least we do before we start inquiring about exactly what friendship is, and then we see that it's connected to all these other ideas, and it's implicated in all these other, all these distinctions. So, to continue on, um, anyway, the point is that I said, in any insight any particular insight we might have in a situation, an entire nexus or intertwining of ideas is brought into play. And this is just what thinking is, the entering into of the historical web of ideas, which phenomenologically and experientially, ontologically, and even logically are very real, and everyone agrees friendship is something. We can all make judgments with high degree of agreement about who's a good friend, who's not, and who has a better relationship in a friendship and who doesn't. Not always perfect, of course, probably never perfect, but there does seem to be, friendship, even if it's different for different epochs and societies. Uh, Now, the question is to you, Matt. Do you think that Whitehead's view alone, or do you think that what Whitehead, in your interpretation of him, can tie, or weave together something like enactivism, or the enactive approach to cognition, to something like a theory of ideas, appropriately understood, of course, when whatever that's going to mean. The theory of ideas, of course, is not highly, I don't know, I guess you could say respected or even taken seriously today, even though it's a good mental exercise for philosophers and young and philosophy majors. How would you, I mean, you're already going to face problems. You're already going to face opposition with using Whitehead, and not even Evan Thompson's view is scientifically solid, and I think right on as it uh, is mainstream. So you're way outside the mainstream here. So the question is, and then not that that's important, but it is nice to get consensus with a large group of people if you're looking to make change. So the question is, do you think that Whitehead's view can tie an activism or something like it to a theory of ideas like Plato's, if we understood, of course, Plato's theory of ideas appropriately for for the demands that our epoch for our understanding, it could make it actually meaningful for us. And how can the notion that, so the question is, how can the notion that at the root of being, and even pervading it all the way up, so to speak, is a primitive sort of feeling or experience? And how can this Whiteheadian notion support a theory of ideas? So what is really the importance? That's a nice thought, but how does it take us far enough? Um, in bridge, in even connecting with mind and life, what difference does it really make, really, besides just the nice slogans like, we are something that the universe is constantly doing and all this stuff. But that's nice, it's comforting, but um, what else what else does it do for us, and how does this help us in our self-understanding, really? uh, and how does this Whiteheadian notion of experience, of droplets of experience as actual occasions as the ultimate reality, how does that support the theory of ideas? Does it? I don't know. Um, this is what I'm wondering, and I've not read Whitehead's book Adventures of Ideas, but perhaps, as the title suggests, Whitehead does have something to offer in the way of a bridge for our understanding here. At any rate, that's my question for you. And I guess in addition to that, I thought I was going to do maybe a little layout of an interpretation of methexis and Plato's idea of participation. Um, it seems probably it's going to be, it could play a somewhat important role if you're going to try to do this. Uh, it's valuable for weaving these forms together into a philosophical tapestry. Yeah, that's long. That's a lot of writing I did. Well, let's see if I can sum this up. Right. Hmm, yeah, Epexis. Uh, well, yeah, I'm gonna leave that out for now, and I just, that'd be interesting to hear from you exactly. Uh, how? Because I don't know. Are you really gonna take Plato's ideas at face value? And I don't know. You don't even. He has several theories, I think, of ideas, not just one. And I think we could interpret it. This is good, and I think it makes sense, right? I think that these, I want to say that there's I want to say that I want to interpret them in as attractor states. The good is these are attractor states that we spiral into together. Or we tend to spiral into together, and it can bifurcate, etc. But do you think that it can be something? Is there something more significant?